One garden update, last day of July. We are looking at a blackberry here. Showed this many times before, and I think we're starting to get close to having fruit. I really don't know how long it takes to turn from pink to black, but I'm looking forward to it. And I have a whole bunch. There's a whole bunch over here too. And I'm on a low carb diet right now, but some of the low carb diets allow you to eat berries, so I'll be trying those soon. On the last video I showed this grapevine. It's really being overrun with weeds right now. This is just a weed, and the grapevine is thriving. It's in there, and I think I showed some grapes back in there somewhere. If they're back there still, I can't see them. Better chance that even if they were grapes, that a raccoon or something got them. I'm having a little bit of trouble with a raccoon right now. And eventually we're going to have a fence. If you can see where the pool fence goes, it's going to come right along this line here. And then I'll have a better chance of maintaining this. Right now I can't maintain my neighbor's jungle of weeds over there, and mine barely maintain my own mess. But anyway, moving here, these are blueberries. Not going to get anything off them this year, but they are growing. That's cabbage, cauliflower, and broccoli, a total of 12 plants here of varying sizes. And obviously these are doing better in the garden box. Also broccoli, cauliflower, and cabbage. You might ask why not put them all in the garden box, and the answer is I simply didn't have room. And so in the future maybe I'll have more raised beds, but I had all these plants. I needed to stick them somewhere. We'll see if they end up actually coming to heads or not, but they are growing. They are getting bigger. These are peppers. They're just getting bigger. I've got peppers on that right there. I believe that is the cherry bomb pepper right there. I don't know. It sounds hot. I'll have to try it off camera. These two on the outside here in the larger rings are tomatillos. Lots of flowers, no fruit yet. That is another pepper right there, Hungarian wax pepper, I believe, the taller one in the ring in the middle. Tomatoes are starting to really take off. Really in just the last week the tomatoes have really started to grow. These are now a couple feet tall. This mess in the middle here is 3 Armenian cucumbers. And if I knew it was going to get this big, if I knew it was going to spread out this much, I would have done it over at this end of the bed and not here, because there's 2 coming out of this bed and 1 coming out of this one, or maybe it's the other way around. And they're really taking off. Again, no fruit yet. There's flowers everywhere. They probably count hundreds of these little yellow flowers. And I think the bees need to come in and do their part. And I might get some Armenian cucumbers. Never had one before. I grew it last year and had no fruit. It was a nice vine, but no fruit. So I think that's a bee issue. So we'll see if the bees actually make it back in here. That's basil. There's another basil over there that's basically buried underneath the Armenian cucumber. That's all broccoli down the middle row here, and then we have more tomatoes. Early girl tomatoes, these are doing well. You can see multiple sets of fruit on each plant. This one's got a couple sets right here and down there. That one's also got, there's 4 right there, and some smaller ones starting to grow there. These are, I think, beefsteak, these 3 here. The other 3 are Roma. They're the ones that aren't doing as well, but I still have fruit on them. They're just not as tall. And over here I have tomatillos. They're much smaller. Again, just didn't have enough room for all of them in the boxes, so that and that next to the cups those are the cups that they grew in before I put them in the ground. Our tomatillos, and believe it or not, they are getting bigger. Just in the last probably 2 to 3 days, they just really started to bush out. So we'll see. A lot of times I've noticed that when it's under this wood chip covering, that once something takes root and decides to grow is when it really takes off. So I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not predicting that it'll happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if those end up outgrowing those that are in the ring over there. Okay. Oh, I meant to mention, just last night I planted 2 celery plants in this first box over here, and those are the last 2 things that I had in containers that I wanted to get in the ground. And I was going to plant them over there by all the lettuce, and when I did, I dug up the ground where I wanted to plant them, and it was pretty pretty compacted. So I decided to just find space in here. And I came out this morning and these were dug up. Something just came in here and dug them right out of the ground. And that is what that is for. So we'll find out what it was. Probably a raccoon. His days are numbered. Over here we have mostly peppers at this point. The sprinkler's on, so I'm going to try to stay dry here, but those are mostly peppers of different variety. You see what's got the red stem in there? That's Swiss chard. So basically I ripped out some of my lettuces that I had here in the spring and replaced them with peppers. And things like Swiss chard, this is more Swiss chard here, two different varieties. The things like Swiss chard take the whole season to grow, I guess, so I left those in. That tallest thing right there is a sunflower that I did not plant. It looks like the variety that I planted last year, so I guess a seed came over here on its own, or blew over here, or a bird dropped it, I don't know. And then along the fence, I'm getting a lot of peas right now. These are like your more traditional peas. You have to crack them open, and we'll just take like 10 of them and crack them all and then put peas on a salad. Whereas these are sugar snap peas. You can eat them right off the vine. You don't have to break them open. You just eat the hull and all, and they're really good. Apples are starting to turn color on this tree now. I only lost one in the windstorm that we had about 2 weeks ago. I think it was 14, and now I have 13. I'm happy about that. This Golden Delicious apple that I showed before is still hanging on, although I don't think it's going to be edible by the time it's ripe. Something will get it. These are Brandywine tomatoes in these two pots here. They're doing okay. I don't know. We'll see. See if we get any fruit at all. They're getting bigger. Lemon and a lime. I predicted before in my other video this year that there were some little plants coming up right here, and I predicted that they were tomatillos and that they would be my big monster tomatillo this year, and that didn't happen. They must be, what I think is that they're in too much of a wood chip covering here, and the roots couldn't reach the ground fast enough, and they just died. I believe I also showed these though, and I didn't know what they were at the time either. Well, obviously those are tomatoes, and volunteers, just a tomato dies and a bunch of tomato plants come up in its place. So obviously they get to stay, and we'll see what we get. Here's another volunteer tomato plant there, and several more volunteer tomato plants there. I may have to end up thinning these just so that some of them can survive. Here's a volunteer corn plant. Obviously it's with one plant you're not going to get pollination, so what happened is I just threw some dead stalks over here, and I guess some corn made it to the soil, and that was the corn that didn't taste very good anyway last year. And then there are also several tomatillo plants again. It's a theme. The types of things that'll just take root and show up somewhere else. Seems like it's tomatoes, tomatillos, and dill. Strawberries. You get a little strawberry every now and then because these are ever-bearing strawberries, although I think the raccoon is getting in here too. I have no idea how. This is all fenced in. Apparently a raccoon can climb a PVC fence. Or what it probably is actually doing is climbing that chain link fence. And I just cleaned this out 2 days ago. This was a huge weed mess, and all the asparagus was really growing over and stuff. And I pulled probably about half of the asparagus spears, the ferns, hoping that I get a fall crop. That's a Paul Gauchy thing. It says that if you pluck all your asparagus in July or August, then you might get a fall crop of asparagus because it stimulates growth. So we'll see. I left some because I want them to continue to gain the energy from the sun. Here's a couple of squash plants. Here's one that I pulled out, and then a couple others that aren't doing so great, and that is because of the squash vine borer ongoing issue. I've gotten squash off these plants. There's 3 of them, 3 big ones sitting on my counter right now. I'm going to make lasagna tonight, but they may be done. There's another fruit right there. I'm not sure if it'll get any bigger or not, and I don't think there's any fruit on that one. And again, I plucked. There were 2 others, and I plucked them out. That's a pepper plant back there. This is a couple volunteer tomatoes again. I don't believe I showed the front yard at all. in my last video, so here's just an update. This is a Chicago hardy fig that appeared to have died over the harsh winter, but these sprouted right off the base of the plant, so no fruit this year. It's kind of like you're starting over, but hey, at least it didn't die. And then my 3 apples, my columnar apples. Interestingly, the youngest of the 3 is this one, and it's the only one producing fruit. And I did lose a few apples off this too, not from the wind, but because I had Japanese beetles on it and I was trying to knock them off, and after I had stripped a bunch of them off by hand, I just tried to like bang the plant to see if I can get the rest of them to fly away, and 2 apples fell off. So my own stupidity there. In the cages here are something called longevity spinach, and of course the rabbits were eating those right to the ground, so I had to cover them up with something, and they're making a recovery. Hopefully they get, I don't think we'll get to eat anything this year, but hopefully they'll get big enough that I can take a cutting off and try to keep it going in the house over the winter. This is also a fig here. So I'm trying to make this kind of look like a decent landscape as well as produce food. So I've got fig, 3 apples, and another fig. The fig will kind of bush out, and the apples are supposed to just, you know, spire upward. Over here again, squash, totally dying because of the squash vine borer. It's not just 1 or 2 bugs either. It's like every leaf. You pluck a leaf off and you tear it open. You know, it's like a tube in there. You tear it open, you find a grub or 2 in every one of them. And that's okay, you know, if it's in a leaf, because that just kills the leaf. But if it gets into the base of the plant, which is what you can see here, probably is all this damage right in here, that's from a squash vine borer. It kills the whole thing. So really too bad. This one also has a squash vine borer issue, but it doesn't seem to be as detrimental to this plant. So this might be my last producing squash or zucchini. And I can see I got 3 little fruits right there. And they don't take long to grow. In a week, that'll be 3 big fruits. The 2 trees here are pear trees. One's a Bartlett, another one something else that's kind of like a Bartlett. And then these are potatoes here. And they haven't flowered yet. So that means they still have some life left, or they're not going to produce very much. But when I made this whole thing, I just put this in the spring. When I made this whole thing, I just decided to throw some potatoes that were, the eyes were coming out, and just organic potatoes that we had bought from the store, or Dorganics, I think, I can't remember which. And I just threw them in the ground to see what they would do, and they're popping up now. As I made this thing, I just put wood chips over the top. Alright, well, thanks for watching my video, and as always, make sure to look into getting a life. Bye-bye.